Last week we talked about planning a diet, and this week what I want to focus on is what happens when you have met your caloric intake to the max. For example, mine is 2,000 per day, and you are still very, very hungry. In light of the fact that some of us do have issues with food, mine was binge, and I typically dealt with my emotions that way, and as well as my hunger. And there was sometimes not a differentiation between those two. In light of that, I needed to come up with a plan, and I wanted to discuss and share with you so maybe it can be helpful. But before I do that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jessica, and I engage in conversations about weight loss, weight-related disease education, and how to achieve weight loss in an affordable way that honors your way of living. Because at the end of the day, we all have to honor our way of living. And diets do not work if they disalign with your values and your beliefs. Back to the subject at hand. What happens when I have met my caloric needs and I am still very, very hungry, which does happen. There's weeks that I do that I'm okay, and there's weeks that I am starving. Has anything changed in terms of maybe I'm doing a little more than typical? I don't know. I don't measure that stuff. Aside from my movement that happens in my day, everything else is organic. I bake sometimes. Sometimes I just sit in the couch and watch TV. Other times in the summer, for example, I am more pro going out for walks, running, or being outside because it's beautiful out. Others, I might use my treadmill downstairs, or I might just not. Because of that, and because I don't measure that, some days I might need more calories than others. However, I am not going to scrutinize because that aspect of it, because it doesn't fit with the way I want to live my life. And I also, as I said many times before, but if you're new, what I do not want to do is buy me another ED disorder, because I already have one. Thank you very much. I don't need another one. So because of that, I think it's important to align yourself with your diet in order for you to be able to start seeing weight loss and for it to also be sustainable. So what do I do? Typically, let's pretend I have done my whole 2,000 calories. I'm still really starving. I stick to a principle that I actually learned from YouTube. It's from a dietitian called Abby. I can't remember her name. Abby Sharp. I will put the name on there. And she does a plate. And in that plate, she has carbs, protein, fiber, and fat. So what do? Whatever it is that I am craving, let's pretend I would like some nachos. Or I would like some chips. I will have that, but I will add a couple of cucumbers or whatever vegetable that I actually can eat, because there's times where I might not want, like I might add carrots because I need to add carrots, but because I find them tasty. Other times I don't. I think it's just the fact that, I'm so used to having processed foods. But I typically find cucumbers better, and I like them better. So I would add the cucumbers or the carrots if I'm feeling up to it. Then I will have whatever protein, if it's like chicken or eggs, or I can also have like, cottage cheese and things like that. And then, of course, I will have some fat, which typically I can do with a dressing, or I will add some olive oil on top of the salt, pepper, a little lime to the cucumbers. So that would be what I would do. And I would do 1 serving of my desired food. If I have eaten that and I have still would like to add more chips, I do another serving. Does that make sense? But I do weigh things out. Psychologically or even practically, I might not record it. I do for the sole reason that it is a weigh-in between my mental health and the fact that this gives me information for me to be able to evolve from that. So for example, I did that week 1 where I did my 2,000 calories. That wasn't enough. Then I had a sandwich with chips and cucumbers, and that wasn't enough. I added a serving of chips. Where this is useful is where my satiety is. Could I evolve from there and only do 1 serving of chips the next week? And that's where it evolves. So, and again, you might find that a month or 2 months go by and you actually have evolved from that. Instead of doing this twice a week, you did the other 3 weeks, you actually did once a week, and you only had 1 extra serving of chips and everything else. And that's a win, because caloric wise, it's actually less, even though you haven't really, focused on each calories, because the main goal is not necessarily that day, is your satiety and your satisfaction, and give you that oomph to continue to keep going towards your weight loss goals. Now, I did make sure that I had nutritious foods in the mix of this. Why? Because I typically, what I do is I count the chicken nuggets, the takeouts, everything into my calories, and the nutritious stuff is as an addendum. Why? Because typically the nutritionally dense, or the stuff that has less calories, more volume, is just helpful for me to add as an addendum to the 2,000 calories, then for me to add those up there, and then have let's pretend chicken nuggets and chips, which can be 1,000, 2,000 calories as my treat on top of the 2,000. Does that make sense? That way, because those typically are good foods, but they do not sustain satiety, because they don't, I typically add them as my main calorie take. I hope this was helpful and clear, and I will see you next week. I wish you health and happiness. Have a good one.